We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. It's been way too long. Welcome back, everyone, to the LFC transfer room. It's been 12 days, 12, 13 days, not quite sure. It's been since the Man City game, basically, since we dicked Man City. And we are back. And the main reasons are going to get discussed. It's been, I mean, Charlie and Dan can sort of vouch for this. It's been a chaotic, like, 2 weeks behind the scenes, I think, with everything. There's been a lot of departures. There's been new people coming in. Basically, what we're going to do in this stream is there's going to be a bit of a rundown about how everything's going to work, because essentially we've sort of streamlined ourselves to make sure that content is coming out at a good quality rather than us trying to rush things out and make sure there's something every single day. I think we've been doing streams now for a good few years, and the model has been every single day, same time, same place. And a lot of the conversations tended to get repeated. A lot of the streams tended to be the same thing over and over again from different sources, but it was the same sort of stories. So the main aim now going forward from the transfer room is we want this to become a platform where it's more creative freedom. We don't want to feel like we're sort of pigeonholed to doing the same thing every single day. The aim is to reduce the number of streams that we're doing, because we as a group, there's a lot of talented people in this group in the LC transfer room. Charlie and Dan are just two prime examples of that. I don't include myself in that group, but there's a lot of people who have a lot of different opinions, different voices, and different sort of opinions on things regarding Liverpool. So the aim is to reduce the streams to about 3 times a week, so that the content that's coming out feels a lot more impactful. There's a lot more to discuss in those streams, and the quality is a bit more. We're also bringing back the podcast. That's something which we're very much looking forward to. There was a bit of a mass debate of everyone saying who wanted to do that, because it felt like everyone was clamoring to be involved with the podcast. That's something that we have discussed. Tactical analysis and interviews, they're coming back. So I'm going to try and bring back the expert analysis series. It's going to be tactical analysis from people in the footballing world, content creators, people behind the scenes, a lot of things to do with that. And there's also going to be transfer rounds up once or twice a month, talking all the transfers, so you don't feel like you're stuck in Groundhog Day and hearing the same news every day that we're linked to Mbappe, or that we're linked to Joshua Kimmich, or that Steven Gerrard's coming out of retirement for the 10th day in a row. It's all changing. Let us know in the comments what you guys think of this. Are you excited? Are you not? Because we're excited to be back, and we're excited to bring you top quality content that you've been sorely lacking. And yeah, we just want to build a community. We want to become more prevalent figures on this channel, and we want to become more prevalent figures in the Liverpool world of content creation. And we're really excited. Dan, one of the founders of this channel, has been absolutely smashing it behind the scenes in terms of getting everything organized and coming up with all these ideas and stuff. So we're really, really excited. And yeah, I mean, I'll quickly pass off to Charlie and Dan to sort of, if they've got anything they want to add to this, because they've just listened to me waffle for 3 minutes, and I can't be the only one talking here because they're just as big as anyone in this thing. So what are we saying?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, I love the idea of the future of the channel and what we're looking to do. And I think the main thing is the quality over quantity, but also there's a lot of platforms that are out there that hide behind paywalls. I think that's kind of the main thing, isn't it? So we want to be able to provide the best channel that we can put together that is exclusive for our fans, but we're not hiding behind anything. We're upfront. This is how we are, and you get the content in full without having to pay whatever you need to be able to get the content. And I think that's the future of the channel, isn't it? It's going to grow as we get on, as we get better, as we become more accustomed to this new process. But the main thing is making sure that the people that do view us, the ones that subscribe and get the information straight away, they're getting the best content with the best people, and that's what we want to be doing, right? But yeah,
I mean,
Dan, I don't know if you've got any extra thoughts as well.
I'm here just to remind everybody that top 4 isn't a trophy, and that you should be sitting here and not having. I'm sorry, I have to keep it real. I came from the start. I was too busy listening to people telling me top 4 and the cup run was good enough, and I'm just here to remind you. I said that wasn't the case. I said that we were here to win the lot, and that ban over here, that one, Yeah, there. And all of them actually have decided that we are really good and we fancy winning a title and fancy winning the Champions League and
There's a
potentially
league to be won.
winning a League Cup. There's a lot of stuff to be won, and to forget the idea we just spent the last decade being doubters to becoming believers, and that's how we should see it. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I just want to be involved in the conversation. I want to be able to get involved with you guys in the comments, which is what's most important. It's there to be used. We will engage as much as we possibly can. So please don't just sit there and feel like, oh, I'm not going to say anything. If you agree with the opinion, get involved. If you don't agree, get involved. Basically just become involved, because every voice, and if we can get it in the chat, if we can get involved in what we're talking about, then we will do. And that's where some of the best ideas can come from. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and obviously looking forward to this much more than I'm looking forward to playing PSG next week.
Well, I mean, if you keep throwing me under the bus, we're not going anywhere. So
this is what I'm about. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm about. I'm keeping it real.
Is this the new channel?
I was happy with
bait raging. You know what I mean? Is that what we're looking to?
Like,
top four the club. Get out of here. Leave.
I gave him compliment after compliment in that opening bit, and then he came at me with that. I'm not having it anymore.
This is it. This is it. If someone needs to be the voice of reason.
I was the voice of reason. You were the voice of high expectations. You just
I am Standards FC.
Right. Do I need to come in between you two children and then sort this out?
No, it's fine. Look, at the end of the day, we're both happy with what we're getting, because Liverpool are top of the league, and it segues nicely into tomorrow. Tomorrow at 3 p.m, Liverpool, top of the league, take on Southampton, bottom of the league, with a points total at the moment that is the worst in Premier League history. It's lower than Derby County, who got 11 points in 2007, 2008. They've conceded over 60 goals. They've scored less than 20. Like, this segues perfectly into it, because on paper, I mean, Dan, since you seem to have a lot to say,
always.
I want to get your thoughts on it, mate, because Southampton on paper, let's be honest, it feels like the kind of game that we just absolutely should be winning. There's no reason for Liverpool not to be going into this with the full expectation of picking up 3 points. But there is still that narrative. There is still that idea that we saw what happened with Luton last season. We saw what happened with Burnley in 2020, Hull in 2013. These teams can cause issues. I mean, is there any world at all in your head where you're thinking, oh, Southampton, a little bit of an off day, maybe they could pick up something?
Made on the slightest. It's no, I'm going to say that. I mean, respectfully, I understand we played them at their ground. It was 3-2. There was a penalty. There was a few dodgy decisions. There was some suspect defending from my mate Andy Robertson, and I've had my opinions on him for a little while. And he's come back to improve, and I'll give him that. He's much better. But that was one of his off days, and it didn't quite. We got reminded as to why Mo Salah is the player that he is, but we also were reminded as the manager that Arne Slot is, and he takes every game as seriously. In his press conference earlier today, he described this game as one of 3 finals that he's playing in, so that there's the players, the manager, everyone involved with the club will have the Wolves game recently in their head, which a lot of people took as, oh, this one should be an easy one, and it turned out not to be so easy. We made it much more difficult. Midweek, I would expect that this game would be one where the players will want to build the rhythm, build a little bit more of an opportunity, get some goals, get some chances created, play well, get a bit of a feel-good factor after what was an excellent win midweek. That's not take anything away from it, but the performance,
best performance of the season.
Worst performance going. However, result was incredible. Yes, this is it. As much as this is a results-based business, that is not how I want to watch football ever again from behind the sofa. So yeah, I'm looking at this game, and I can't see there being a banana skin. I can't see, firstly, how Southampton find a way through us, and I don't see a way that they can keep us out. The players that we have available to us at Anfield, you can't get a ticket to this game. This one is really in demand, and I think there'll be a lot of fans there expecting a big result, and I think the players will be expecting a big performance as well. So no, I don't see anything jumping out. Let it bite me, but I can't see it happening. We're too professional this year.
You know what? I love your optimism. Genuinely, like Charlie.
Realism.
Can I add a little bit more optimism to that?
Because I think
man. the thing that I noticed, and I don't want to dwell too much on the PSG performance. It really kind of does remind me of Liverpool coming back from a more of a prolonged break. It's something that we haven't really seen too much this season, and whenever we have, we've struggled a little bit when getting back into that first match. You know, thinking about Forest and all those type of games that we've had throughout the season. Whenever we've had a little mini break, we work better with rhythm. It's really, really important that we try to get back on that. And I think Southampton, with all due respect, is the perfect tonic for us to be able to get into that. It is the only league game for this month, which is bizarre as well.
Yeah.
And so we've got, as Slot says, as Dan says, you know, it is three finals. It is something that we do need to kind of really, really hone in, because each one has its own merits and what it means for the rest of the season as well. Hugely important that we do keep on pushing our way, winning this league the way that we want to on our terms, because that's what it should be. You know, we've built up such a massive advantage now, and I've always kind of been harping up the importance of double figures in terms of a gap between ourselves and whoever's in second place, whether that's Arsenal, Man City. You know, 10 points is the big one, where, you know, it means it's 4 games that we need to be dropping points, you know, as a minimum. And so professionalism. I don't expect us to drop our standards to what we saw against PSG. I think we will see there may be some adjustments in terms of the personnel that we use starting, but you know, regardless of whoever plays, I expect us to be winning, and I see us winning pretty handsomely as well.
There's also a real opportunity to turn into a scoreboard sort of advantage as well. It takes it to 16 points. It's you know, as much as they're playing the terrible ones down the M62, let's be honest, and I'm just looking at the odds there. I can't say that Man United have ever been 5-1 to win a game at home, but that's how far they've fallen, and this is how far that we have risen back up to our perch. So yeah, for me, it's an opportunity, like you just said there, Charlie, to say, look, I mean, the title's done, so I'm going to say that it's done. It is done. Like that, we've won the league. We have. It's
That's
you know,
all.
it's
It's a
clip
question
me
of
up
when,
all you
isn't
like.
it?
Because guys, listen, everyone out there, I don't have the power to do that. I don't have the power to jinx anything, because I wish I did, but I do not have the power to do that. I don't have the ego to say that. It's done. It's dusted. It's finished. But what needs to matter is that we need to keep up the professionalism from now on there, because there's much bigger games for us going forward. This one is the 38th most difficult game that we have this season out of the league.
Yeah.
You know, so there's 38 games. This is the hardest one. This is the one that we should go to ourselves. Do you want a game this week? Choose the one that you would want to play. You want to play Southampton at Anfield, don't you?
Yeah.
So we're in a lucky position. So it's just get this job out the way.
Southampton, they're such a weird team in the sense of, like, so statistically, no teams conceded more shots at goal. No teams had to make more saves. No teams conceded more goals. But it's a strange thing, because in terms of like pass completion, they're actually the third highest. In terms of aerial duels and tackles won, they're second in the league, only to Liverpool. It's a really weird situation where it's just the defense simply isn't good enough. And the manager who's come in, he feels very like, Russell Martin wasn't working. We all knew that, but they've panicked and just went, fuck it, you get in now, and then just get us to the end of the season. Try and stop us from going down. But if we go down, it's not the end of the world. We can play for next season. And I do agree with the notion that of all the teams you could pick to play, this would probably be the one at Anfield. Southampton, we just beat them 3-0 last season with the kids in the FA Cup at Anfield. But these are the games that scare me the most in terms of, I know there's no pause for concern, and I'm a bit of a glass half empty kind of fan in some senses, but these are the ones where you can go into it sort of thinking, we're going to absolutely batter them. This is not going to be any kind of issue whatsoever. But there's so many historical games in the past where it has happened. And I don't think this can be a game where we can show that complacency. We do need to go in and just play the way we want to play. Don't view Southampton any different than you would an Arsenal. Don't view them any different than you would a City, a Madrid, a Leverkusen, all these teams that we've beat. We just, like Slot said, there's 3 cup finals coming up, and Southampton at the moment is a bigger priority than PSG. It's a bigger priority than the League Cup. we just need 3 points, because if we do lose this game, or if something does happen, suddenly the narrative flips to, well, maybe things aren't as comfortable as they want to be. Maybe things can be caught up to. Maybe Arsenal can close the gap. And we don't need that pressure at the minute. I just want to get this done so that we can have one eye on PSG, because the ambition this season has always been the Premier League. I wasn't too bothered about the Champions League this season. I was like, I just want to win. I just want to see the league, something happen there, maybe a cup along the way, as Dan mentioned at the beginning.
You wanted to see top four, didn't you?
My exact words were, I'd be happy with top 4 and a cup. Like, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. Maybe we'll do a video on it. But now that we've got that result against PSG, now there's no City in the Champions League, and these bigger teams are dipping out, we have got one eye on that competition, and I want to get the league boxed off and start focusing on that. But with Southampton then, Charlie, like, is there anyone in that team that you can look at and think, you can cause us problems? Because there's one particular player in my mind who I'm thinking could potentially cause an issue, depending on who starts for us in a certain left back position. Like, what are you thinking with regards to individuals in that Southampton team?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who the player that you're talking about. Tyler Dibbling. Tyler Dibbling, who surprised a lot of us, I'm pretty sure, unless you're really, really into watching a lot of Southampton for whatever reason. But Tyler Dibbling caused us a lot of problems, and I think it was just a case of he was in a really good a good moment. It was a free shot for Southampton in that game. But then, yes, I know we speak about Andy Robertson, and Dan, you've perfectly mentioned, you know, his level of performance has improved dramatically. I'd say dramatically. I think there's
Definitely
levels, not just you know, small percentages, massive percentages. He seems like he's got focus in terms of the league position, has kind of made him think, right, this is probably my last opportunity to be winning anything major at this club. Who knows what happens in the summer? His own age, his contract situation for next year. There's lots of things that go against Andy Robertson, but the main thing you probably see is that the grit and the determination since the Southampton game, since the Arsenal game when he got turned inside out by Saka. We've seen the more responsible, and I think that's the key word for me, is Andy being more responsible in how he sees out games, certain moments, and allowing for attackers to be seen out in better ways. And I think Slot should be commended again for bringing the best out of Andy. For this kind of second half of the season. But yeah, I to come back to your question, Tyler Dibbling is probably the only one that does scare me, but we shouldn't lose the fact that this is a poor Southampton team, and we should make them worry about us rather than we worry about them.
With that all being said, though, I don't think Robertson plays. I think it's Simicast. It's more than like there will be changes, and as much as we could probably look at this game and think some people would be like, wholesale changes, Canate, I'll bring Kwanzaa in, bring in, Harvey Elliott, Federico Chiesa, and Jones, and they all have their own kind of things, but it'll be more likely that it'll be 2 or 3. I think it'll be 2 or 3 sort of key ones, and one of them, just like what Charlie said, there is Slot's management of the team has been exceptional. It was mentioned, he was saying we've been lucky with injuries, and he was very quick to say, if you say we've been lucky, as in we haven't had many, but you create your own luck, and it's true that the team behind the scenes at Feyenoord, at AZ Alkmaar, now at Liverpool, it certainly isn't a fluke now that the injuries have plummeted with their behind the scenes. And you come and look at Liverpool and you take away the impact injury to Canate. Canate is on a 100% sort of muscular injury-free season so far, touch wood and all that good stuff. And this is the first time I think that we've seen that. And then we look at Diogo Jota. He had quite a serious injury. It was a lung injury, wasn't it, when he had, another Grok fall on top of him. He needs to find a way of not being underneath really big fellas falling on top of him once in a while. I mean, obviously you can't, you can't find a way to stop those things happening. Just tell them to stop fighting with bigger fellas. But they've done a great job there. But I think Tsimikas will come in for this game more likely. But it just makes sense. I think it just makes sense. He didn't play at all, did he? He didn't play at all against PSG, and Andy Robertson did 90 minutes against Dembele. And to be honest with you, I'd still be tired now, and I only just watched it.
I said it earlier on Redmen. I was like, I think considering Slot's so like rotation happy with fullbacks, and the fact that Robertson didn't come off, I think says a lot about the fact that he is going to start this match. And he said in the press conference as well, if there was 3 or 4 days in between, there'd be no changes, but we've got 2 days in between. And Tsimikas is a more than capable deputy. I don't think he's a top quality player, but I think he would get into like 8 or maybe 10 Premier League teams starting lineups, I think, or maybe be a contender.
Problem.
Yeah, so he's a good option to have. I agree with you completely. I suppose this sort of takes us into our starting 11 predictions because it's pretty obvious Alisson's going to start, Van Dijk, Konate, and probably Tsimikas. But there is the question like of right back now. Obviously, Conor Bradley's out. Trent he played the full against PSG. Normally, Slot does have a thing of rotating Trent at the minute. I don't know if it's a fitness thing, I don't know if it's a tactics thing or what have you, but our only real other option now at right back is Quansah with an outside shout.
Oh, God, no, please.
We don't even have Tyler Morton as that emergency. No, well, that's what I mean. Like, surely Trent starts, or is there a world, anyone really, like where Quansah could start at right back or something, or what are we doing with that?
So I think the difficult thing is if you're playing Quansah, let's say Quansah right back, and there's an opportunity that we make changes. What do? Do you bring Trent on to replace a centre back? Then Quansah goes into the centre. I just don't think it really works. What I would probably do if we're playing Tsimikas is let Trent stay on at right back. Let's see out the game and then make early substitutions just to keep him fresh for PSG. That's personally what I would do. And we've got to remember these guys have just had a break, so they shouldn't be in the red zone. The red zone's the key thing, isn't it?
You'd like to think as well there wouldn't be too much exertion against Southampton's front line either. We look at players like Van Dijk. He spends most of the time at walking pace, and you would hope that most of our defenders shouldn't be doing too much tracking back for much of this game. So you would hope that this was
Trent will be in midfielder.
Yeah, exactly. Trent's more than likely. We're going to, if we look at the Ipswich game as an example, we're more than likely going to be camped 75% into their half and just basically just turning the screw and passing it around until eventually the space becomes available. And hopefully we get that goal kind of early on, settle a few nerves, and get a couple, and then make the changes. Just like you said, Charlie, that's where the opportunity is, where you can kind of go, right, 55, 60 minutes, right, we make Gravenberch off, we take this lad off, we take Trent off, and bring on Quansah because the job's done. But I just wouldn't want to see Quansah from the start. I just think it's asking for, I don't know, it just feels like it's asking for trouble.
Who was it he started at right back against earlier this season? He really struggled.
It was Quansah against Newcastle, wasn't it? They were absolutely terrible.
Yeah, and like I think he's just a sort of easy brick shithouse kind of player. Just stick him on when you just want to, want to preserve a win. But he shouldn't be starting. I agree with you. I think Trent starts 60 minutes or so in, get the game done, and then Quansah can come on. Someone said Endo right back, a bit of a wild shout. I don't want him at right back. I just want that very clear. We saw it against Accrington. Like he can play in the back line, and Southampton earlier this season. Actually, like he's just the sort of last resort, and he did play there once or twice for Stuttgart as well. Actually, and then midfield is the sort of. This is the position that I really struggle with because Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, I think they earned the right to maybe be in for shout for this game after what they did against PSG. And Jones starts, yeah. I mean, do you want to take that away for Jones?
Yeah, I mean, it's for who though, isn't it? Is the question for me? It's because you would say it would be for Szoboszlai. But I think he does need rest. He's a man who plays many 90 minutes, and he's a fella who's obviously become incredibly important to Liverpool in what we do. Is it Szoboszlai? Is it McAllister? Is it Gravenberch? I mean, that's a great thing about Curtis Jones is that he's really shown his worth in the recent times, and the reason he doesn't get as many starts is because the three lads who are in front of him are all incredible as well. So it's a nice place to be in. I don't know. I mean, I would like to say that McAllister could do with a bit of a break, but you can put that argument for all of them. I think any one of three could come out for Curtis Jones, and I wouldn't be against the idea of any one of three coming out, if that makes sense. I think when we took off Gravenberch, I think that told me a little bit about he will probably start more likely than the others, because he came off for 60. You bring him back in, playing for 60, coming back off again, playing for the full 90 against PSG at Anfield. So I think Gravenberch will start. So I think it's likely either going to be McAllister or Szoboszlai for Jones, but I couldn't tell you exactly which one, but I think it's one of those two. Elliot, though, the issue is I'd love to say that that's going to happen. But in the heart of hearts, Slot has been an incredibly routine, sort of like, you kind of can tell he doesn't make half-time substitutions. He's done it once in the Premier League. That's it. It's like one time. And so when anytime we go, we're going to make a half-time sub, he won't do it unless it's an injury. Yeah. So for me, he won't start Harvey Elliott because he hasn't done. Does that make sense? Like, he hasn't done it. So I can't see a world it happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Elliott might will probably get some minutes. Definitely, I think he'll definitely come on at some point if the situation allows it. But I can't tell you. I think he's going to start. I can't see that in the slightest.
Yeah, and I pretty much agree. I think I would love to see Endo play, just to give him minutes, to allow Gravenberch to sit back and put his feet up for a little bit, get rested up. But just like what Dan said, I just don't see the scenario that allows Slot to kind of just loosen that grip on his favorite, 14, 15 players, and his preferred starting lineup. And I think I saw a stat just before the start of the PSG game in terms of the team that Slot has played. So the team that we played against PSG, he's chosen that team 6 times already this season. Comparing that to a Klopp team, he only chose one particular 11 6 times in all the years that he was here at Liverpool. So that kind of does tell you a story in itself. One is that Slot likes his team. He likes his number. He's 1 to 11. If he had choices of squad numbers, he would probably make them 1 to 11, and that's it, lads. Sorry for everybody else. And that's just the facts. So I can't see a world where we make too many changes. Nunes probably will be coming in. Gakpo maybe, if he's still if he's fit and firing.
He didn't train yesterday, from what Slot said, but he is still. They're going to assess him as he goes, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I think you touched on perfectly there the fact that Slot said as well in the press conference, if he had a squad of 14 or 15 players, he'd be happy. Because he's a very routine and regimented kind of manager. He'd rather a smaller squad to work with. And he did say himself that Elliott's sort of he's good enough to be in the team, but he's behind Salah and Szoboszlai. Like, he's on the outside looking in, so to speak. And someone said, did Elliott play all the match against Plymouth? I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did anyway.
And he wasn't great.
No.
And he wasn't great.
No, he wasn't. But he was great against Southampton in the League Cup earlier this season.
But then he wasn't great against PSV. If you know what I mean, like, he was good. He got the goal, but it wasn't a great performance. It's unfortunate.
His old man's at it. That's what it is. It's his old man just in his ear.
On his 14-inch telly, that's it. Doing feedback on it while the analysts have just given him a full breakdown with computers and AI and all sorts. I'll tell you where you've gone wrong, son. But this is the thing, this is exactly what Slot did at Feyenoord. He played basically the same 11 for the entire league, and I listen to a lot of the Anfield rap and stuff, and Neil Atkinson over there, he put, so I won't say it's come from me, is that when they did their research into it, is that you'll just have to learn what it's like here. There was a concern of, can you translate that from that league over to here in the Premier League, where you feel like you're playing football every 25 minutes, never mind every 3 or 4 days. It feels like it's on constantly all the time. And is the intensity higher? Yes. Is the quality higher? Yes. Is it feel like, is it travel more? Of course it is. Like the Netherlands is nowhere near even, just as big. No. You don't need to get a flight to anywhere for a game in that league, where here you need to get a flight from Liverpool to Plymouth to play an FA Cup match. So there's changes and stuff that needed to be learned, and he's learned it, hasn't he? Because he's been able to translate what he did there to Liverpool. This is exactly what he's done.
Only Nottingham Forest this season have made less changes to their starting 11 in the Premier League.
Oh, yeah, we've got to get a Nottingham Forest reference in. Slot, I'd love you.
Mate, honestly, I'm convinced he still stays up at night thinking of that. And to be honest, I don't blame him. Like, it's their only loss in the Premier League. We don't touch on losses. Forget that.
No, we need to win the league. But what we have to do is we have to make sure we lose to another game, so we don't have to hear about Nottingham Forest for the rest of eternity. So they all need to have a good night on the beer. I'll have a good night on the ale, like when we played City and lose 4-0. That's just to go. No, that's it. It's not just the one.
That literally happened the season we won the league. I think our only loss before we won the league was Watford, like the 3-0, and then after that we lost to like City, Arsenal,
we just
Brighton or something. Like,
yeah, I still remember vividly that Watford game. Going, yep, that's it. Like, setting myself down in the living room. Right, we're gonna watch the game. Oh, 1-0. It'll be all right. It'll be okay. Because that season, you genuinely did feel that. Yeah, it doesn't matter. 1-0 down. Yeah, we'll win. It'll be fine. Went 2-0 down. Still felt. Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, we'll make it 3-2, and then went 3-0 and went, not winning this one, are we?
Doesn't matter because we won the league.
Yes,
we
did.
And I suppose we'll quickly touch on the front three because I think 2/3 of it sort of basically picks itself. Salah, Diaz, because Gakpo, like I said before, he didn't train yesterday. They're going to see how he is today. I don't really see a world where Federico Chiesa get to look into the starting lineup unless anyone disagrees. But the big argument seems to be. We'll go Charlie with this one first because it's Nunes or Jota, and I put a poll up on my own channel saying who starts, and I think it's like 90-something people have voted, and it's 50-50. Like no one can decide between the two. Which way are you sort of swaying in terms of who starts up front tomorrow?
And yeah, so with the PSG game in mind, and he's just looking at this shirt. Look at this shirt.
No, sorry. So I've got both, so I'm just going to see which one we can have a vote on there. Go, which one is it? Which one are we going to go with? Which one's
like the crowd? You're going to see who cheers louder.
That's it. Yeah,
go on. Yeah. So coming back to it, Nunes for me. I think if we start Nunes, that allows Jota to stay fresh for the PSG game because he seems like he's slot's number one guy in that number 9 position, if that makes sense. And it just allows Nunes. Right, we've gone from probably the hardest game of the season against PSG away to, and Dan, you mentioned it, the 38th. The most difficult game, if that's how we describe it in the league against Southampton. There's an opportunity there for Darwin to really push his own name back into Slot's hands. He's done it in kind of spurts, but this really does allow him the opportunity to really cement a path away back into a starting 11 more regularly. So, the opportunity is there for Darwin if he takes it. But for me, that's how I see it. I'm thinking of the 3 finals. What do? You see Jota in PSG, and then it's just a straight shootout between them two for the cup final.
I think with the PSG thing as well, like if you're Slot and if I'm Slot and I'm looking at this, I'm doing the whole like all this and that, and I'm looking at this game and thinking we're going to get more chances you'd imagine against the Southampton than we would at PSG. Jota and Nunes, either one of them, like split dimensions, both of them are going in behind. Which one of them two are you trusting more to finish? And I'd be going Jota. And I think that in the PSG game where there's going to be less chances, there's going to be less opportunity to maybe get those goals. I put my faith more in Jota than I would Nunes. And I think that might play some sort of decision making into this. Like, I mean, Dan, I don't know where you stand with Nunes, actually. I think you're one of the few people I haven't really heard.
You see, I'm of the opinion I felt like Nunes was a whisker away from banging 30 goals last season, but it didn't happen. And that's just the way it is.
Salah, like a little.
Well, he had an incredible mate. I mean, the last season was, we diverted heavily away from Mo Salah being the tip of the spear, and we moved to Nunes being the tip of the spear. And in another dimension, in another universe, he scores another 10, 12 goals, of which have been incredible saves, and he ends up having a massive season, and everyone's going, oh my God, that's the Nunes that we bought. But unfortunately, he holds the record for hitting the woodwork the most times in a Premier League game. His XG compared to the goals he scored was wildly different. He took more shots than anybody you can kind of go. And it just proved, unfortunately, it just isn't going to work. And there's sometimes strikers like that who come to the Premier League, or players who come and you go, it never worked. And then they'll go away, go somewhere else and be incredible. So, in Serie A or something like that. And you go, oh my God, why couldn't he do that for us? And I just think that's where it is with Nunes. There's what I think is, and this is kind of, it's not so much a theory, but I think it's probably more likely going to be the truth, is that I honestly think we play Luis Diaz against PSG down the middle if Gakpo's fit. I think it's nine. He's going to play. He's going to want to play Luis Diaz. He's going to want to be more likely. He's going to sit there and go, if I can get Gakpo ready for PSG, I'll play Gakpo on the left like I normally do and play Diaz through the middle, and then bring on Jota or Nunes. I think he should start Nunes, and I think for the reason being is that he's much more robust. He doesn't need to have as much rest. He's capable of playing more minutes, which means you might as well give him.
Sorry,
yeah, against Southampton. Sorry,
yeah.
we should be playing Nunes for the least the 60 minutes, 70 minutes, whatever it is. I don't think it's going to be an issue with scoring goals. That playing the 9 for Liverpool is not the best. The best show in town, unfortunately, because it's quite thankless. Because ultimately, your job is to allow space for our actual number 9, who's Mo Salah, to score all the goals, because that's the reason he has scored as many as he is. He is the tip of the spear this season, and why would he not? Because he's an incredible finisher. So Nunes and Salah work for me so much better. They do link up better with each other. I feel that ultimately this is a real opportunity for Nunes to get some confidence in front of a home crowd against the worst team in the league. And ultimately, it's a no-lose situation, because you would suggest that if they haven't scored by that point and we do need to make changes, then you're going to have Diogo Jota coming on as a sub, who's much better as a substitute than he is as a starter, in my opinion. I think statistically, he's a better player off the bench than he is a starter against some tired legs for 30 minutes, and it works. So that's how I would do it. But I think there's going to be, going in his mind, he's going to be more likely want to get Gakpo back fit to play on the left against PSG and bring Luis Diaz into the middle. So if Diaz comes off early, say 50, 55 minutes, my theory, I feel that will be correct, that that's what he'll likely start against PSG at Anfield.
Yeah, I mean, I'm. Go on, Charlie. Man, you want to?
No, I don't disagree with that. It's actually a really, really good option. The experiment with Luis Diaz as the 9 kind of has hit and hasn't hit, so it's been very on and off. It really depends on the type of opposition. If it's a high line, then Diaz is quite clever in the spaces that he runs into, the bends that he makes to get behind the opposition. Now, I think with a PSG team who will be on the attack, that does allow for a big space. And yeah, I totally agree. I think that could be a really, really good option for a Southampton team, a team that can be kind of boxed in. It doesn't tend to work that well, and we need opportunities when they come for someone to be putting them away. So yeah, it's just going to be one of those. It's just like what we said. We need to get an early goal just to settle the nerves, settle the crowd. We hopefully, just like what Slot's saying, we have a good crowd. Come tomorrow, 3 p.m., 2:30 for everybody else. Get in the ground, make some noise. This is it. This is the title running, and we really, really need everyone on form, and that's not just the playing staff. That's everyone in the ground at that point.
Well, I suppose the debate of striker for Liverpool is going to go on, and I've supported Nunes religiously. I think I've been a very avid Nunes player, but you can't be in your 3rd season as our most expensive player and there still be question marks about you. I think that is a problem in and of itself. And Nunes has moments, Bournemouth, Forest, Brentford, Newcastle, like he has those moments, but I think I trust Jota a bit more with my life. And I agree with what Dan said. I think Jota's better off the bench as he's sort of progressed. He's not the same player he was. But I think Nunes probably does need to start against Southampton. Jota against PSG. Maybe the Diaz option is an experiment that we could do, and then, but it's clear that the need for a striker is there still for Liverpool. I highly doubt that both of them, Jota and Nunes, are going to be there next season. And that sort of flips us onto the last portion, which is going to be Alexander Isak. Now, there's multitude of reports, and this could just be hypothetical bollocks. It could be truth. We don't know. But essentially, Alexander Isak is fair game from what we've heard from multiple sources. The player himself has said that he wants to be in Champions League next season. The agent is saying, look, we don't know what's going to happen. Newcastle don't know what's going to happen. He's linked to Arsenal, Barcelona, Madrid, like everyone, including us. Now, the touted price is around 150 million. I did a live stream on my channel the other day. I think Alexander Isak is a terrific player. He scored 12 goals in 8 games during a purple patch earlier this season, scored those 8 games in a row, including a hat-trick that he got in that match against Bournemouth. For 150 million, I think it's a stupid decision. I think if you're going to spaff that money on one player when you've got other positions on the pitch which need strengthening, and you could be potentially losing Van Dijk, Trent, and Salah, and you're going to spend that much money on a striker when the back line's already minimal as it is, I think that's a daft decision personally. I mean, does anyone agree or disagree with my sort of assessment of Moneyball, so to speak?
Charlie, do you want to jump in first before I go on my tirade?
So, I think I will lube you up for that tirade.
Oh God,
I know, mate.
It's not even past the watershed yet, Charlie. Come on.
Sorry.
I'm a drink. Jesus Christ,
is it? Good Lord.
Yeah, that is a thought. Sorry, guys. So 150 million for a player that has an injury record, unfortunately, a history of injuries that, really
39 games missed.
Yeah. So it doesn't really bode well for us to be spending close to 100 million, let alone 150 million. If you are going to be spending that, and we've done it in the past where we've bought game changers. We've bought Allison, we've bought Virgil. However, on the other end of the scale is Naby Keita, Darwin Nunes. He just had, So
Naby.
Naby. I'm of the opinion I would love to see Isak as a number 9 for Liverpool, but I can't see him lasting a full season, to be able to justify the price. I think he would bang. I think he would really, really do well in this team, but I just can't see. I can't see a world where we will spend that much when we need quite clearly a left back. We do need another central midfielder, perhaps. We'll need another right-sided midfielder if other players go. I'd say if I going by the theory that Trent is going to be leaving, I say we do need a first choice right back, because Bradley, as good as he is on his day, hasn't shown consistency from a fitness perspective that would give me confidence. So we probably need a right back as well. It just doesn't make sense when there's other areas that we need to be prioritizing right now.
Well, that was your moment.
I mean, David Ornstein has name dropped the fact that Liverpool are interested in Alexander Isak. Alexander Isak would be a fool to stay at Newcastle even if they qualify for the Champions League, and I'll tell you for why. He's 25 years of age. He is a player who scores a goal or assist every 104 minutes. So he's right up there, by the way. He's up there with Salah. He's up there with Haaland when it comes to goals and assists numbers. If you like statistics, you like that kind of stuff. But what he is an incredible finisher. But what he is an incredible finisher for a team who is nowhere near as good as we are, who has nowhere near as many chances as what Man City can create and what Liverpool can create. He scores his number of goals. He would be a player that Liverpool should absolutely be looking to bring into, whether it be for the future, whether it be for now. I think Salah stays. I think Virgil van Dijk stays. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is leaving. That's how I feel. I've gone backwards and forth. If you asked me different times earlier on in the season, I could have said to you, Eddie, which one of them would have stayed, Eddie, which one would have left, or all they all would have stayed. Yeah, and you had to take that with how the mood was at the time. But I feel like right now, Trent's going. I think that's 99% for me. I can't see there being a change in that situation, and I'm comfortable with that. I think that we can replace a right back and play a sort of different system to create the goals, create the creativity. I think we could do that in the aggregate with different players for a Moneyball reference for those people. That we can't replace Mohamed Salah's goals. It's not possible. We cannot replace a player like Mohamed Salah because they do not exist. They are not out there. There might be players who look better. There might be players who can dribble better. There might be players who can have better take-ons. But there is nobody who is as clever as he is. There's nobody as good as a finisher. There's nobody who's got the experience, the elite mentality. The list goes on. Mohamed Salah is the greatest Liverpool Premier League player. It is. It's the fact. It's the truth. And he's in the Premier League all-time 11. He is. And
Easy.
put whichever, easy. If you want to play a 4-3-3 or however you want to put other players into your team, Mohamed Salah is there on the right hand side, and you put wherever you want them anywhere else, because he has to be. He's going to win his second Premier League title. He's won a Champions League. The records, they fall every 5 minutes. Alexander Isak, though, if he's going to stay at a team like Newcastle have infinite wealth, of course they do, but what they're not able to do is put it on the pitch. They're not able to go out there and create this team. He is at the point in his career where he has a choice. He either makes the move to one of the teams where he can go on and win trophies, or he can sit there and stay on his contract at Newcastle. He'll miss the boat. Yeah, and that's the truth of it. The boat will sail without him, and his agent should be absolutely saying to the Newcastle board, when we sat here 2 years ago, you said, and I'm sure you would have said to him, we're going to be in the Champions League, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be challenging for the title. They would have promised all these things, wouldn't they? It hasn't happened. What's happened is that they've realised that PSR is a real thing. You can't spend the kind of money you want to go and spend. Now's the time to move. They'll make a profit, but what won't happen is he will not move for £150 million. I just can't see it. I think that number is made up. It's fugazi.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see a deal above Caicedo for a long while. I think this big old bucket of water has been poured on the transfer fire, and it's just meant the point of everyone has to just calm down. Everyone has to, can't just like overinflate the prices and say, oh, well, Milos Kerkez is £50 million. No, he's not. Why is he not? Because no one's paying £50 million for left backs. It's not 5 or 6 years ago. Things have calmed. The teams that you're buying them from are not capable of offering the contracts that Liverpool can offer. They're not able to offer what we can do on the pitch. Alexander Isak would be incredible for Liverpool. I think we would absolutely be involved. And if we move Nunes on to Saudi Arabia for the reported £70 million, therein goes a good old bundle of the cash that you want towards his fee. It's a case of you move it from one pocket, add a bit of change, and then you come on to and saying, well, it's £100 million purchase. For example, that's just the price I'm putting in there. But what you do then, that's my cat, by the way, you don't have to only have an outlay of £30 million or an outlay of £40 million. And it's capable of saying that, well, in fact, actually, all you did was did a trading. You just did a trading. You weren't putting 100 million out on the table. A lot of Liverpool players, I think, are going to be for sale this summer. I think there's going to be a lot of players coming and going, and it's going to be a big old change this year. So Isak staying, absolutely. Isak coming to Liverpool, I could absolutely see it, definitely. And I think he would be a fool to say, right, I'm staying at Newcastle, Champions League or not.
The only problem I've got I agree. I think Isak is more than good enough to play for any team that he's got his pick of the land. He's the hot commodity at the moment. And like you said, PSR, we saw Anthony Gordon almost got sold to us earlier this season. I saw that, by the way. Yeah, like
it's like Lee Gunner with a cat.
They're in a position where they need to. I think Isak, the problem with it is it depends, like you said, on sales. Now, I don't think that the way we're playing up front at the moment is the way that Slot wants to play it. I just think he's looked at Salah, seen how good Salah is, and said, right, we're going to play to his strengths. My concern then is, say Salah does go, Isak's the one that they're probably going to bring in to replicate the goals. Then your player up front is going to be the focal point of attack. And we've seen this season that Nunes, Diaz, Jota, they all come deep to provide for Salah or whoever's on the left wing, be it Gakpo or Diaz. That will change. That whole thing will change. The whole system will change. And I don't know. I think it's just a case of I don't want to see Salah go. I'm just nervous to see what it would look like. And Arsenal as well. We're in a position where at the moment, where we don't have to panic buy an attacker. Arsenal are. And the worry for me is if we are in for Isak, Arsenal are just going to ramp the price up because they're desperate to sign an attacker. And I think Isak's like their number one target at the moment, or like top 2 or 3. I don't want to get into a bidding war for him. I don't think we need to. And my concern is just the price is going to go up and up and up. Salah could eventually then leave, and we're then stuck between a rock and a hard place. We can either spend that money on Isak when we desperately need goals to replace Salah, or we find ourselves in a situation where we're in a scrambling to trying to find anyone. And I don't know. I'd rather spend the money elsewhere. It's not my personal priority. I mean, like, Charlie, what do you agree, disagree with any of the sentiment? Like, I don't know. It's just weird at the moment.
So I think there's 2 points. I think there's really so from an Isak personal perspective, looking at Arsenal, I don't think they're in the conversation for him. The reason
Okay.
I don't personally think they're in the conversation from his point of view, because whether he actually did say this or if he didn't, if he didn't, the point being is he said that he wanted a team with European pedigree, with history in that competition, within the European Cup. If he said that, then that kind of rules out Arsenal, because they've never won the European
Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, well, you never know. So I think it's really, really important for Isak to make the right move, the next move to be the right move. I don't think Arsenal is in that conversation for him, because of the style of play that Arteta incorporates and is quite adamant for this season doesn't play to his strengths. I don't think it does. As much as what Arsenal can claim that they play good looking football, but they don't. And I don't think Isak is the player that would allow them to move to that next level.
They don't play transition like we do.
No, not exactly.
They're
That's
not a
what I mean.
counter-attacking team. They're not a team who's willing to play that way. They're a much more
Yeah.
methodical team who build up. So he doesn't make sense. Like you said, Charlie, he wouldn't fit them. He wouldn't plug in as well as he
Yeah.
would. Like somebody else would plug in much better. Is why Havertz probably fits them much better than he did at Chelsea.
Yeah, and I think the second point was he's already kind of started to flirt with Liverpool. The idea, again, going by reports, he's mentioned Liverpool, or the name's been mentioned to quite respectable journalists out there in the media that will get the name out and say that Liverpool are interested. Now, I don't think that would be coming from Liverpool. I think that would be coming from Isak and his people to say, Liverpool, would you be interested? Let's get this kind of conversation going. That's how I see it anyway. But time will tell. Sales is going to be a major factor. We need to be able to find suitable buyers for XYZ. Nunes, maybe Diaz in the summer. There's lots of conversations, lots of players that are going to be up for sale, just like you said there, Lou.
Well, look, it's a big summer of change. I'm pretty sure we're all expecting a summer window fairly unlike any other. And yeah, I'm all for it, to be honest. I'm excited to see what's going on. Just keep Mo Salah. That's all I ask. Keep Van Dijk. I don't care who we bring in.
I think it's done.
They're saying it's done.
I think
It's done.
I think they're saying the conversations around Virgil and Salah died. It's dead.
Yeah.
No one's talking about it, because they all know that they've signed. That's how I see it.
It's not being announced because Trent hasn't, and it would have put all the pressure on him.
Yeah,
It's the only reason. It's the only reason I can see
reason.
is that they know that ultimately, if they announce, Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk have signed the deal, and Trent hasn't, guess what? All the world's media pressure goes straight onto him.
Well,
That
Chip will get off the pot
towards Trent would be really, he would be
awful.
toxic. Yeah. The moment, and we've seen it against, where the United game, the absolute,
It was over the top.
It was over the top, and people need to remember what he's done for this club. All from the moment he stepped in that Hoffenheim game, I'm sure it was. It's just, for me, Salah staying, so I don't think there's any issues there. We'll give him the contract that he wants in terms of length for the number of years.
There's too many records. You'll be looking at Ian Rush's record and thinking, give us 3 more years. I'm going to get it done, lads. Don't you worry. The stickers on pens.
I think he's something like he's just under 100 away from Rush, but he's like 60 away from being the highest ever Liverpool goal scorer in the league in terms of, because I think the record's like 244 and he's on 182 or something along those lines. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but
he's definitely
not
eyeing
far
up
from
Kane.
that.
He's definitely eyeing up Kane.
Yeah. Well, has he beat Aguero yet? I'm sure he just beat Aguero recently, didn't he?
He's either beat him or he's so close. It's
like 1 or 2 in it. I think there's 1 or 2 in it.
Yeah, he's looking for the assists as well. He's looking for the assists. He's going to be looking at all of those things, isn't he?
He'll break Henry's record.
Yeah, he'll fly through it, and it's this season. You can tell the other players are really G'd up for him getting these assists and stuff like that. They're happy for him as much as it would be for a goal because they know what it means to him. And he's always been a player who's set personal records for himself. He's always wants to push himself, and that's how he does it. And this is where he knows his opportunity is to go and to become a legend of football. Is he knows he needs to make that here, and he goes off to Saudi Arabia. He doesn't need to do that. He can do that in 4 years' time. He'll still be a mega star. He'll still earn mega money. So it's I'm very comfortable that he's staying at Liverpool. I'll die on that hill.
Just imagine if he had a good striker in front of him to score goals.
Well, we might do.
Sorry.
Might do. We don't know. Sorry, Nunes. Bring back Sean Dundee. But anyway, I suppose that's gonna wrap it up, because we were only meant to be doing this for a little bit and it's sort of spiraled out of control, and we've been here like an hour now, so it's like the old streams. But we are going to shoot off. As I said earlier on, it's been a pretty chaotic 2 weeks, I think, behind the scenes. But the idea of this, the main idea going back to it, we want to streamline our content to make it better. So the streams are getting reduced, but the other content, we've got tactical analysis coming out, interviews, the podcast's coming back. We're all excited for this. Maybe we'll do another live stream just sporadically on Mo Salah, just talking about Mo Salah. We can do that now. We've got the sort of creative freedom to be able to say, we want to do this. This is what we want to do, and it happens. So we are very excited. Make sure you click like and subscribe. We're close to 11,000, which is ridiculous. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Can't wait to see all the new stuff coming out. Make sure you stay tuned. Look forward to a bit of a rebrand. And hopefully 3 points against Southampton. Hopefully Salah stays. Hopefully Sean Dundee doesn't actually come back. That was a bit of a please don't make that happen, God, somehow. And see you all.